1991 was the year metal exploded in every direction. Thrash went mainstream, death metal peaked, doom crawled from the underground, and grunge crashed the party. But while everyone remembers the massive hits, some of the year's best metal got completely buried. Here are 10 tracks you probably forgot existed, and number 1 might surprise you. Number 10, Metallica, The God That Failed. The Black Album's deepest cut tells James Hetfield's most personal story. His mother died from cancer in 1979 after refusing medical treatment due to her Christian Science beliefs. The mid-tempo crusher builds to a frenzied peak with lyrics cutting straight to the betrayal. I see faith in your eyes. Never you hear the discouraging lies. Broken is the promise. The healing hand held back by the deepened nail. Follow the God that failed. Jason Newsted's bass is actually audible for once, and the guitar work harkens back to their thrash roots before the clean, arpeggiated ending. Sandwiched between Nothing Else Matters and My Friend of Misery on side 2, this track gets completely ignored. Radio never touched it, MTV never played it, and casual fans skip right past it chasing the singles. But hardcore Metallica fans know this is one of the album's best songs. Proof the Black Album wasn't just a commercial sellout. Number 9, Armored Saint, Tribal Dance. Symbol of Salvation should have been as massive as Metallica's Black Album. Released the same year, produced by Dave Jordan, who just worked with Alice in Chains and Jane's Addiction, this album perfectly merged traditional metal with hard rock hooks radio would have eaten up. The entire record was dedicated to original guitarist Dave Pritchard, who died of leukemia in 1990 before recording. The band lifted a guitar solo directly from his 1989 demo onto Tainted Past as tribute. John Bush's vocals were at their peak, and he left for Anthrax immediately after release. His first record with them, Sound of White Noise in 1993, bore a striking resemblance to this album's sound. By then, grunge had completely taken over, burying traditional metal albums under flannel and angst. Armored Saint went on hiatus until 1999, and this became a forgotten classic only true metalheads remember. Number 8, Sepultura, Dead Embryonic Cells. Arise was Sepultura's darkest album, and this track embodied the post-apocalyptic madness perfectly. The title track gets all the attention, but Dead Embryonic Cells is the real crusher. After reaching the pinnacle of death thrash with Beneath the Remains, the Brazilian legends doubled down and added eerie, schizophrenic elements. Max Cavalera's vocals were at their most vicious, the riffs unpredictable, and the atmosphere felt like the soundtrack to humanity's final days in a Mad Max wasteland. This was death thrash for post-apocalyptic fallout, complete with industrial noise and Killing Joke influences. Arise marked the peak before they went tribal with roots in 1996. The album polarized fans because it wasn't Beneath the Remains Part 2, it was darker and more challenging. This track never got recognition because everyone fixated on the title track and moved on. Number 7, Carcass, Incarnated Solvent Abuse. British death metal never had it easy, but necroticism, descanting the insalubrious, set the rulebook on fire. The grotesque medical-themed album art caused global outrage, with retailers refusing to stock it and countries banning its sale. But the music inside was groundbreaking. Bill Steer and Michael Amott's dual guitar attack added traditional metal melody to death metal brutality, creating something nobody had heard before. Jeff Walker's darkly witty medical terminology lyrics and razor-sharp song structures proved death metal could be intelligent and brutal simultaneously. The underground accused them of selling out for being too melodic, which is insane considering how heavy this still sounds. pioneered melodic death metal years before. At the Gates and In Flames made it a genre. This track showcases their transition perfectly, ingenious heaviness with hooks that stick. Most people outside the death metal underground never heard it. Number 6. Cathedral, Ebony Tears. Nobody expected Napalm Death's ex-singer to reinvent himself as a doom icon. Lee Dorian grew tired of grindcore's death metal sound and pushed extreme music in the opposite direction with Cathedral. Forest of Equilibrium promised morosely magnificent slow-motion doom, confusing fans expecting blast beats. Instead, they got crushingly slow dirges crawling at lethargic pace, with down-tuned riffs stretching beyond 7 minutes. This track embodied the album's oppressive atmosphere, adding acoustic guitars and gothic organs to create something genuinely ritualistic. The production was perfectly loose, unpolished, and borderline muffled, sounding like the soundtrack to late-night Sabbath worship sessions. Together with Gaz Jennings from Acid Rain, they created proto-doom and stoner metal that influenced every band in those genres. But in 1991, radio wasn't touching 7-minute doom epics. This became an underground classic nobody outside the scene discovered. Let's pause for a second. Which 1991 metal album changed your life? Did you discover any of these songs back in the day, or are you hearing about them for the first time? Drop your favorite deep cut from 1991 in the comments, and let us know where you're watching from. We've got people tuning in from Texas all the way to Berlin. Number 5. Morbid Angel, Day of Suffering. Tampa death metal at its finest, wrapped in Egyptian mysticism and otherworldly atmosphere. Blessed Are the Sick showed Morbid Angel bringing more control to their breakneck sound after the chaotic energy of Altars of Madness. Treya Zagthoth's luminous leads and celestial guitar solos elevated death metal beyond pure brutality, adding progressive elements before it became trendy. The album's sputtering, blasts, and halftime crawls created a feast of death metal DNA that influenced every technical death metal band that followed. This track got overshadowed by bigger death metal albums released in 1991, particularly because Morbid Angel's experimental approach confused fans expecting straightforward brutality. The progressive death metal elements, atmospheric interludes, and Azagthoth's jazz fusion-influenced solos were ahead of their time. By the time bands caught up and made progressive death metal popular, this album was already a distant memory for most listeners. Number 4. Autopsy, Twisted Mass of Burnt Decay. Death doom before anyone called it that. Mental Funeral took the sickness of their debut Severed Survival and slowed it down to a crawl. Chris Reifert and the band smoked a lot of weed, binge-listened to Black Sabbath and Trouble, then got to work creating something equally twisted and doomy. Slow, sludgy Sabbathian riffage dominates from beginning to end, mixing death metal's brutality with doom's oppressive weight. Reifert's insane drumming switches from blast beats to crawling grooves, while his guttural vocals sound genuinely deranged. Every death doom band that came after walked in Autopsy's shadow. Paradise Lost, My Dying Bride, Catatonia, all of them owe a debt to Mental Funeral's blueprint. But in 1991, this was too weird for death metal purists and too extreme for doom fans. The album fell between genres and got ignored by everyone except the most dedicated underground tape traders who understood its genius. Number 3. Ozzy Osbourne, I Don't Want to Change the World. Won a Grammy in 1994 for Best Metal Performance, and still nobody remembers it. No More Tears was Ozzy's last truly great album, featuring Zakk Wylde at his absolute peak shredding like a madman. This track sits between the massive ballad hits and the crushing title track, heavier than the radio-friendly material, but catchier than you'd expect. The production from Dwayne Barron and John Purdell was pristine, and the song showcased Ozzy could still write relevant heavy music in the grunge era. The track got completely buried by Mama I'm Coming Home and the title track dominating radio and MTV. Ozzy was riding high on commercial success, but deeper album cuts like this went ignored. After this album, his output declined significantly, and he admitted the farewell tour wasn't actually goodbye. This Grammy-winning song remains forgotten because casual fans only know the singles. Number 2, Immolation, Into Everlasting Fire. New York death metal's stone-cold classic. Dawn of Possession announced Immolation as one of the hottest extreme metal acts in the world after hype, built from their underground demos in the tape trading scene. This opening track showcased all their strongest elements: breakneck pace, frequent tempo changes, twisted guitar solos, and Ross Dolan's churning growls. The production was strong without being polished, and the technical wizardry mixed with sheer brutality created gimmick-free, old-school death metal at its purest. Dawn of Possession is one of the most important albums during death metal's formative years, but it never got mainstream recognition outside underground circles. While Florida death metal bands got label support and distribution, New York's scene remained cult status. Immolation's twisted, dissonant approach to death metal was too challenging for casual listeners expecting straightforward brutality. Tape traders worshipped this album. Everyone else missed it completely. Number 1, Metallica, Through the Never. The thrashiest song on the Black Album, buried on side 2 between ballads and mid-tempo tracks. 4 minutes of pure riff-heavy aggression that harkens back to the band's Speed Demon days, with head-banging guitar work in the bridge that's quintessential Metallica. Lars Ulrich's remarkably restrained drumming holds the adrenaline-fed rocker together, while James Hetfield and Kirk Hammett shred through twisting structures that recall their earlier material. The song later became the title of their 2013 3D concert film, finally getting recognition 2 decades too late. This track proved they didn't completely abandon thrash for mainstream rock, but it gets skipped constantly because casual fans want the singles. Radio stations ignored it, MTV never touched it, and it's sandwiched between Don't Tread on Me and Nothing Else Matters, where it disappears. Hardcore fans argue this should have been a single instead of The Unforgiven, showing the world that Metallica still had teeth. Instead, it became the Black Album's most overlooked banger.